Yes, guys, welcome back to Arsenal Transfers Today, a show where we discuss the latest Arsenal transfer gossip, rumors, and dandels. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as well. Now, according to Mikel Arteta, Arsenal don't need a striker this January. We are happy with the players we have, and with Arsenal firing 5 against Crystal Palace, it is now more likely that Arsenal will not sign a number 9 in January, but rather in the summer. We'll be talking about Douglas Luiz as well. According to Peter Oruk, Arsenal are pushing hard to sign Douglas Luiz. He's a player they like. He's a player that they bid for a couple of times, but Aston Villa are unwilling to sell. What is the future of Emile Smith-Rowe? And Amadou Onana is likely to stay at Everton as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comment box below. What do you think about these stories, and what do you think Arsenal should do about the striker situation this month? So let's get into it. Mikel Arteta, first and foremost, there was asked about the striker situation, what we're going to do, and especially the fact that fans are screaming, sign a striker in January. Now, Mikel says we're not going to sign a striker in January. The answer is no. We are happy with the players we have, and we think they can actually do the job because they've actually done it before. And personally, I don't disagree with Mikel there. We have seen it. Arsenal firing 5 against Crystal Palace. The question is, can we do it on a daily basis? Can we do it on a weekly basis? When we play in the Champions League, when we come back in the Premier League away from home on the big stadiums, Anfield, Etihad, and Manchester United at the Old Trafford, can Arsenal go and replicate those same performances that we put in against clubs like Crystal Palace and bagging 5 goals to nil? Honestly, it's very hard to find a striker that you want in January. Osimhen is not available. Ivan is back on firing, but they're not going to sell. You look at the impact he's had, at Brentford ever since coming back. 1 game, 3 points, and that is the only win they have in their last 6 games, Brentford. So you can see the impact Brentford are getting from Ivan Toney. They will not sell in January. And the likes of Lautaro Martinez, obviously, those are players to focus on in the summer rather than in January. So I kind of agree with Mikel Arteta that you cannot get the striker you want in January. Even if it's 100 million, even if it's 200 million, you might not get a number 9 that you want to actually sign in January. But to say that we do not need one, to say that we don't want a player because we have enough, I don't think that is true. I don't think Mikel is being realistic, and I don't think he's being very honest with us and himself. He knows this team can compete with Man City and Liverpool if we get a forward. He knows that if you replace Gabriel Jesus with Osimhen, or you replace Gabriel Jesus with Ivan Toney, there are more goals to the game. There are more goals to our games, and that means a higher chance of winning games. And I was listening to TalkSport this early morning, and the one point that I really liked on the TalkSport afternoon show is Arsenal have everything it takes, and now we have to judge them by how many titles they are trying to win and how many pieces of silverware they're going to end up with at the end of the campaign. So for me, we need a number 9. There's no question about that. Mikel, maybe he looks at the situation and he understands we can't get a good number 9. That is all right, but at the moment, if you can't get one, try to get one in the summer. Ivan Toney has returned to full action, and yesterday was a very good day as they beat Wolverhampton. They did beat Nottingham Forest, not Wolverhampton Wanderers. 3 goals to 2. Ivan Toney was on the clean sheet, but boy oh boy, he had a very good game. He did assist in one of those goals. He has scored. He scored one of them as well. He played 90 minutes, and he looked fresh. He looked very nice on the pitch. And in the end, Thomas Frank, in his press conference, he came out and said, today was Ivan Toney's day. We don't expect him to be leaving in January. We don't want to sell him. We are actually trying to get back on track, and Ivan Toney is doing just that. He's actually helping us as a team. I think this is a very good opportunity for Arsenal to look at Ivan Toney for the remaining 17-18 games for Brentford. How he's gonna do, how is he going to cope up the physicality levels, and probably the fitness levels as well, and mentally, how is he coping up with the lack of football and then coming back into football as well. But at the moment, I think so far so good. Mikel Arteta is still looking at him, and if we are following him, if you're still looking at him as one of the strikers that we're going to try to sign in the summer, he's actually written a huge statement to Arsenal. So Ivan Toney is back in action. When we play Brentford, you will surely get to see him, much better. Arsenal rejected a couple of bids to take Emil Smith Rowe away from the club this January. One of those bids have been coming in from West Ham, who wanted to take Emil Smith Rowe on loan. Now, Mikel Arteta, in his press conference recently, he actually said that Emil Smith Rowe is training well and is actually doing the right things right, and therefore they're happy with him. And in our last game against Crystal Palace, he did come in the last 10-15 minutes. He did play well. He looked a little bit sharper. I think Mikel Arteta is trying to upgrade him into a left number 8. He's trying to create a new position for him right there. According to the likes of Charles Watts and the likes of David Onstein, the player wants to stay at Arsenal and fight for his place in the starting 11. We all know he has got the quality. We all know there is a good player in Emil Smith Rowe. The big question is, are we really going to see Emil Smith Rowe as a starter for Arsenal ever again? In my opinion, that's going to depend on Mikel Arteta. Is he happy with the players' performances? Is he happy with the way Emil Smith Rowe is training? Personally, I think there's a talent there. There's a massive talent. He's one of the best players we have in this side when it comes to his good day. I think Odegaard is class. I think Kai Havertz is class. But Emil Smith Rowe, boy oh boy, he's already shown his class. He's already proven to us that he can score the goals, create the chances, and put in some very good performances across a spell of 38 games. So he's not for sale, and he will not be leaving Arsenal in January. The player himself doesn't want to leave, and Mikel Arteta as well doesn't want to sell him this January transfer window. So West Ham would be a very good destination for me for Emil Smith Rowe. Get that kind of experience, get that kind of daily routine, get the experience of playing every single week, and the assurance that he's at a club where he's wanted. He's at a club where he's going to be playing every single minute. But if Mikel Arteta trusts his gut and he thinks that he's going to use the boy and use the player every single now and then there is no reason as to why Arsenal have to be forced into loaning him out or actually selling him as well. So I'll be updating you on the Emil Smith Rowe situation. If he stays, then well and good. If he's gonna go, I want him to go on loan and not on a permanent basis. As simple as that. Now, according to Peter O'Rourke, Arsenal are pushing hard in the background to sign Douglas Luiz. This is not a very reliable report, and that's why I've actually not put it on top of the transfers today. But it's a story that has been there for quite some time. So according to Peter O'Rourke, Arsenal have had a couple of bids rejected in the past and probably even in January, and we are still pushing to sign Douglas Luiz. Now, according to what I understand, David Onstein, who is a little bit more reliable and closer to Arsenal and bigger sources as compared to Peter O'Rourke, he says that Arsenal are split in opinion about Douglas Luiz. Inside Arsenal, there are a couple of people who think that Douglas Luiz is the player Arsenal should be signing, and outside Arsenal as well, inside still, there are a couple of people that think that he's not the right profile. Martin Zubimendi has been looked at. If you remember, we've talked about him, and of course Amadou Onana as well is another player Arsenal are considering in this January transfer window. So are we going to try to sign Douglas Luiz? In my opinion, no. It's a wastage of time. He signed a new long deal at Aston Villa, and he's a very important player for Unai Emery. And I also think that I'm part of the team inside Arsenal that think he's not 100% the correct profile. Now, I like him. I think his ball distribution is very good. What we saw from Jorginho against Crystal Palace, playing that ball through for Gabriel Martinelli, that could be Douglas Luiz. That could be this guy. A deep-lying 6 that can create chances. His passing accuracy is elite, and of course his passing numbers as well are very, very confidently up through the roof. But my problem with him as a player, he's not an elite ball winner. When we play Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and Odegaard, what we have in Declan Rice is an elite ball winner. That is what I think Douglas Luiz doesn't have. So if you're bringing in a number 6 that's going to play side by side with Declan Rice, then it's okay. You can bring in someone who's not a ball winner. But when you bring in a player who's going to be interchanged with Declan Rice, then definitely you need an elite ball winner. Douglas Luiz, in my opinion, is not an elite ball winner. But of course, he just signed a new deal at Aston Villa. It's a long deal. That means that he's going to cost a lot of money. And Arsenal, at the moment, we have a lot to focus on. Our defense is a little bit shaky. We don't have enough options in midfield, and the attack is as well needs to be dealt with. So we might sign a winger in the summer. We also need a striker badly this year. So that means that spending over 50-60 million on Douglas Luiz might not be the best option there is on the market. Arsenal can go and sign Martin Zubimendi for around 40 million. That would be a very good deal. Amadou Onana for around 40 or 35 million. That would be very good as well. And a couple of other players that we can actually look at. So Douglas Luiz, I know Arsenal were interested, and I know that Arsenal did place in a couple of bids, especially towards the end of the 2022 summer transfer window. Arsenal were desperate to get him in, and we wanted to use the advantage that his contract was running down. The player was kind of trying to push to leave Aston Villa, but Villa, they did stand their ground. They told the player, you're not going anywhere. If you don't want to extend with us, you'll stay for one more season, and then you can live on a free. Eventually, they convinced him to sign a new deal, and I think that is where that deal should stop. Arsenal should just walk away from the Douglas Luiz deal. Expensive for nothing, and I think his profile is really market available. He's so available. I think in Martin Zubimendi, I can get that kind of player and he will do very well. I think in Amadou Onana as well, you can get a player like that and he can do very well. You can even go to Everton still and get James Garner, and he actually does a very good job for you in that same position. So Douglas Luiz, I'm not really sure Arsenal really want to sign me in January, but Peter Oruk says we are pushing hard and the deal is there. Now, Amadou Onana is likely to stay at Everton because Everton are not receiving any offers, and they are not, sure they can actually replace him in this January transfer window. So that's the problem with this deal. He's going to stay at Everton, and it's probably going to move in the summer. Honestly, it's a much easier deal to do in the summer. Everton need money, and they're open to selling. But who has 45 million there in this January to actually buy Amadou Onana? Who has 50 million ready to buy Amadou Onana in January? Definitely not Arsenal, definitely not Manchester United, definitely not these clubs that are actually, struggling with FFP. So with Arsenal, I think if we want Amadou Onana and we have locked him as one of the big targets for this year, then the summer transfer window is going to be a very intensive one and a very optimistic one for us to get him in. He's a good player, trust me. Premier League proven. He's an engine. He's a tall guy, winning every duels. He's very physical. And with the clan rise and his profile, you can have Amadou Onana and combine him with Declan Rice, and you can form a very super midfield. Now, if Everton receive any offers, they will sell. So I'm not saying Arsenal have to wait until the summer to sign him, but Everton are not convinced that they're going to get good offers in January. That is number one. And the number two, they're not convinced that they can actually replace him very well or adequately in this January transfer window. And that's the point with January. No team wants to lose their best players because it's very hard to replace these players. It's very hard for you to sell an Emil Smith-Rowe or to sell a Fabio Vieira or to sell a William Saliba, and then you replace them adequately in January. So Amadou Onana could be staying at Everton. That is according to the reports that are coming out. But of course, this deal is not conclusive. It is not done. The evidence we have on this one is still very circumstantial. If Arsenal are still interested in doing business, then we might as well go ahead and do it. And finally, Joao Hato is going to sign a new deal with Ajax. Arsenal have been looking to price the player away from Ajax before he signs a new deal. He's a young 17-year-old defender that is really good. Absolutely very good. Incredibly good. If there is something that Mikel Arteta terms as incredibly very good, this guy, Joao Hato, is very good. Now, he's in talks to sign a new deal at Ajax. Ajax eventually, or recently actually, came out and said, we are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that he signs a new deal. We're going to make sure that he signs a new deal. We're going to make sure that we keep him as a new signing. We make him as a new signing for us in January, and that's gonna happen. Talks are already underway. I think Arsenal should focus focus more on Osman Diamonde, the young boy at Ivory Coast. He's doing a great job at Ivory Coast, but he's also doing a very good job at at Sporting Lisbon. And of course, there are a couple of other defenders Arsenal are interested in. Matthias Delit is one player we really want. And of course, if you want all that breakdown, you can join me on Cossy Arsenal. We'll be doing all those breakdowns about the players that Arsenal are interested in and why Arsenal should sign them or why not. This is Arsenal Transfers Today, a show that brings you the latest Arsenal transfer gossip, rumors and dandels. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will be back tomorrow.